Doop-be-doop-be-doop-doo-doo. The meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. Jolly good. Let's see if it's telling us the truth. Doesn't seem to be doing anything here on my Facebook. Let's go. Ah, there we are. What a fine figure of a man. Emily Mack, nice to see you. Let me see now. There we are. So, Suzanne's just about to, she's waiting in the living room. Oh no, in the waiting room. Oh dear. Yes, funny old game, is it not? Let's bring Susanne in and see what we've got to say today. Here she is, I think. Come on, Susanne, stop messing about now. Just because you're lolling about in the Portugal sun, well, it won't be sunny now, but... Ah, there she is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Joe, just a sec.
Okay.
Why can't I hear you?
Maybe, am I on mute? No, I don't think so.
No. So you can hear me, yeah?
I can.
But I can't hear you. Why would that be?
I've got no idea.
Hand signal.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me? The man who takes care of everyone.
Okay, let's try. I'm on a mobile. Let's try. I'm trying a different way.
Okay. Seems like a plan.
Might be able to hear you. No, I don't normally have problems, but it's obviously something that's a setting. I can't see anything.
Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Right, I've got you. I know why. It's okay. It's technology.
Yes. You would think a woman of your caliber would understand all these things.
Oh, yeah, that's like really like true, of course.
So
yeah.
I was watching you this morning, and I was enthused by all the stuff what you were saying, and I got a feeling is see if she's busy after, and see what you can talk about, because I feel that we're on the same wavelength. You know, not exactly the same wavelength, because my feeling is that each soul has a wavelength of its own, but there are certain spheres of influence that impact upon people at certain times. That's where I'm up to with things. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I know what it feels like. How does that sound?
Well, I rather like that. Yeah. Yeah, of course. We're all like if we're spirit, say like we start as spirit, as the water, as everything in unity, but like that, we've not got anything to express through, have we? We haven't got anything to express through. We're just like liquid water, spirit. So we need something to express through, and we've chosen, I don't know why or how or whatever, but we've got these bodies, and bodies have an identity, and that creates a singular resonance. It's an individual resonance. So of course, it's beautiful. It's absolutely the most beautiful thing in the world. You know that thing, you probably know the word for this because you know all the words. I said like I forgot left my thesaurus in the UK. You know, like there's no state of an electron, like in an electron ring. There's no one electron can have the same kind of state, can it, as another electron in an electron ring? And that's like we can't occupy the same a harmonic field state, and so that's how the universe is created as. It's beautiful, it's magical.
Well, yeah, and that's what they call, isn't it, the quantum reality, that everything's changing all the time. There's a principle called the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And it's all about the excitability of things, really. And because we were all born at different times under different stars and all this, there's at the moment astronomical, astrological changes taking place in the cosmos, you know. And you explained this very, very nicely this morning about because the cosmos, because Mother Earth is part of that, she's also feeling the change in vibrations. And because we're on Earth, we will feel that too in all sorts of ways. And it will influence us to the degree that we have been genetically encoded as a consequence of our birth at that time. You know, that's my feeling on this, you know. And is it true? Susanne, I don't know whether it's true or not. I just go in with me feelings these days. In fact, I've got no idea what's true most of the time anyway, other than by the way that I feel, because I can't rely on my head, because it plays tricks with me all the time. What I've learned about something is that first impressions are lasting impressions and usually wrong in my case. Right. They're usually wrong. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just that I can't really trust this thing here because it's been, through its naivety, stupidity and arrogance, it's listened to a whole load of bollocks and taken it on board as the truth. And guess what? Most of it's a bleeding great big lie. Over to you.
Oh God, I love you so much. My heart is like bursting. It's just so true. It's what you have to get over when, you know, like when we start spiritual work, you know, it's like you're so lost in it, aren't you? So lost in your mind. You think that is the goal, that is the thing, that whatever it is you're sensing is the whole story. And that's when you begin to get a feeling of what's going on with your mind, and then perhaps you might understand it, perhaps not, you know. And I was lucky because I did have some understanding of psychology. It's like the most unreliable witness in the box you could possibly imagine. You can't put your mind into a witness stand because it'll rewrite history in a second, and then it'll make you believe that's the truth, and then that'll inform and create your reality. So then you believe your reality, and that's what we're seeing in the world at the moment en masse. It's total cognitive dissonance. And so, of course, the only thing we've really got is a sense of a feeling, and we haven't got a clue what that is. It's beautiful, because that's why the more we do this and the more deep you go, the more you realise you don't know. You don't know nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm very, very happy with that, because I used to be a person where people would come to me and they'd ask me a question, and even if I didn't know what the answer was, I'd blag my way through it, you know, and just tell lies, basically. You know, I'd just blag because I was in a position of authority. And how can I show that I don't know what they're talking about and what they're asking me about? So I used to make things up, you know. And I've put so many people on the wrong path, you know. I think I'm paying for it now, you know. If that's karma, it's getting me back. I don't know. It's not really. I mean,
they chose you, didn't they? They chose you. They would have chosen you, because they would have chosen you to do that, to be like a distractor. I remember my first really proper job, what I would say proper job out of university, and I saw this job. I can't believe I'm confessing this, but I really think I should, because this is what we do. And I saw this job, and I just felt that I would really enjoy the job. I had no qualifications for it. It was a data analyst, no qualifications for it whatsoever. But I just felt that I would enjoy the job, and I certainly would enjoy the pay package. So I applied for the job with my CV. I didn't lie on my CV. I didn't make up any sort of false experience. But for some reason, they gave me an interview. I don't know why. They just did. And I turned up, and I didn't have a clue what I was talking about when they were asking me the questions. Not a freaking clue about anything to do with data analysis. But for some reason, I seemed to know what I was talking about. And I started to do it. And I went through the first interview, then I got invited back for a second interview, and I had to give a presentation. So they gave me some stuff, and I did do a little bit of homework about it, and then I had to take it back and present it to the panel. And I did it, and I was talking very convincingly about all this stuff. And they asked me a question about computer systems, like a systems engineering question, and I totally blacked it, like completely bullshitted my way through it. And they were nodding and smiling. And at the end of the interview, it was beautiful. They said, "We know that you totally lied about that question, and you haven't got a clue what you're talking about, but we absolutely love you and we'd like to offer you the job." And that's how I got my very, very first job. And it was nothing to do with what I knew. It was not what I said. It was just what was in my heart that came out around all the things that my mind wanted to create. So that job was mine, and it was fundamental because, you know, where it led to, the doors it opened was incredible.
That's just brought back to my memory an occasion where I went for an interview, right, and I'd lost my job, and I was desperate to get another one because I was still on the drink at the time, and I needed the money to feed me habit, you know what I mean? So I applied for a really quite high-powered medical representative's job, right, or they used to call them medical executives then, right, and I made up my qualifications, and I completely and utterly made a fantastic fabrication of my curriculum vitae and went along, you know, and I got an interview, right? And in the interview, they said, "What are the characteristics do you feel of being a good representative?" And I said, basically, truth, you know, transparency, you know, and trust. And they said, "How important then do you think it is to be honest, you know, with the people that you work with?" I said, "It's absolutely essential." They said, "Well, why did you make all these qualifications up then? Because we've checked your qualifications and you haven't got any of these." And I guess what? I never got that job. But it taught me something, right? That, you know, people can find out information about you in the past quite easily, and they can do it really, really easily these days. And you know what? I'm not in the slightest bit bothered whether people go back into every single aspect of my past now, because I've totally and utterly come to terms with the whole business. I cannot be, I feel, emotionally blackmailed by anybody. And this is what I got in the week as well. Emotional white males just as bad as emotional blackmail. I said, "Well, what are you trying to show me there?" Right. And it's, you know, there's two sides. I like the poem by Rudyard Kipling. He says, "If you can meet with triumph and disaster and meet those two imposters just the same," you know, and I see that now, that's the left and the right brain. It's the this and the that. It's the black and the white. Well, where is the 0 point? It's somewhere in the middle of those. And how do you get to this 0 point? You completely and utterly let go of both those opinions from either side. That's what I've learned, you see, because I used to think that what I used to do is I'd be onto me thinking and say, "Oh, that's bad thinking. I'm going to supplant that now with good thinking in order to balance it out." It's still a trap. And I know that you know this, because I really don't feel that I have to do much now other than get out of the way and let my soul chauffeur drive me to the next stop, right? And I've just got to sit in the back seat while I'm chauffeur driven to the stop to take some action. And it'll be a small, effortless type of action, really, just to get the process going again. That's where I feel I'm up to. And if anything's too hard and I'm gritting my teeth and putting effort into it, I feel where I'm up to today, that's probably not the right action to take. What do you think about that?
I concur.
Concur.
I can't get the image of you running in underwear and rainbow skirts out of my head for some reason.
Well, that's the Rainbow Bridge, isn't it? Obviously.
It sums our life up, doesn't it? That we've, you know, God, if I think of my life, Jesus Christ, it was a car crash. It was just basically, you know, all my life, like living up to some thing, some structure that I thought was the, you know, as a kid I was trying to fit in, and it was, I did that live the other day about fitting in. I never felt like I fitted in. So I would spend my life trying to run to catch up and studying other children to try and fit into them, and then failing miserably, feeling like such a dick and like I never fitted in anywhere. And I had no sense of anything really. I just was like a completely fake person. I've invented all these different fake personalities at college, at uni, in my job, in my marriage, you know, trying to fit in as a mother, in you know, PTA and all that shit that we invent, that we think we've got to be someone and something, and then it happened. It, you know, it happens obviously in the spiritual world as well. And you know, like I know I can see myself now in my phases, and I tell you what, I just laugh so much. I laugh so hard because that is the joke, isn't it? That is the joke.
Yeah,
That we had this wardrobe of fancy dress.
absolutely. Yeah, and that was the chameleon. You change your, you know, you change your facial appearance because of something I say, and I'll change me to try and suit you all the time. You know, and that's what I did. I couldn't permanently be myself because what will they think? In fact, I didn't know what myself was. My dad used to say, son, be yourself, think for yourself, right, and play it by ear. Right, and that's what I do these days, because my dad was my hero. You know, he was a hard-working man. He worked like hell physically all of his life, but he read and he read and he read and he read, and he was a sort of a romantic traveller in his mind. My dad, you know, and he's with me a lot. You know, I get feelings that he's around me. Now I don't know whether that's his soul. I don't know. I don't know whether my imagination's playing tricks with me. I don't know. I don't care. I just get a sense of, when I get a thought of him that I'm not putting in there, but it just appears by itself, I sort of feel his presence with it. Now, if that's me feeling spirit and stuff, I've had that feeling all of my life with other things as well. I've gone into places and I've sensed energies, you know, and where I'm up to now is I'm sensing more and more and more energies all the time. I'm becoming even more supremely sensitive in my own skin, like I'm wearing my nerves on the outside of my skin, and I'm becoming more and more of a radar. And I know that there's a point, everybody's going through this increase in sensitivity now. However, what I've understood is that if I feel disturbed because I can't handle the energy, it's not being done to me. It's because I'm still building my tolerance to it, you know, and I have to sort of be careful with myself, look after myself, nurture myself. Don't put myself in the firing line, right? Is take care of me until it plateaus out and it becomes, there's a phrase, my new normal.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
The new normal. Oh, yeah. What is the new normal? It's nothing. It's nothing. What is it? I haven't got a clue. Nothing. I'm not even sure of anything anymore. It's that sensitivity. I think we shared it, didn't we? It was privately, wasn't it, this morning? It's like I've had to step back, you know, from doing so much online. I'm electromagnetically sensitive. I've become quite sensitive, and I wouldn't say I'm someone that would have got overloaded too much, and now I do, and I know where my healthy boundaries are. I'm definitely not afraid to say no and to step away. And also, it's not that I'm not aware of what's going on the planet. In fact, I'm probably more aware than a lot of people, because I feel the earth and the cosmos and the people and the fields, as well as the drama. But I don't really need to be in that energy necessarily. I don't need to be playing in that energy, and that is that's something that I've been acutely aware of. My sensitivities seem to be, I mean, I don't have any answers. It'd be stupid to say that I do. Why do I feel like I'm in these different worlds? Why do I feel like I'm in this liquid light? Why does my body and my hand move to make the codes it does? you know, it'd be wonderful to have all these miraculous answers and structures, but the fact is I don't anymore. The more that I'm touching this, the more that my heart unfolds, it loses word, it loses definition, and the need as well to kind of put anything to it, you know, to give this reason. It just is. It just is. It's like I am a communicator. I'm communicating it in everything that I do, not just creation, but just by being as a human, just human being. And it's my eyes, for whatever reason, and my heart, I don't think they're separate. Nothing is now. It just feels with love and compassion. But because of that, and maybe because I was a repressed empath or a suppressed empath, I don't know. At the moment, I am very, very sensitive to people to the degree where I was sat having breakfast in a hotel the other day, and I was shown, and you know, without asking, it's just a process. I could feel there was some bacon in a you know, they had a breakfast. It was stored somewhere on the display, and I could feel each piece of bacon and the different animal. And when I could tune into it, I could be the animal, and I was seeing through the animal's eyes its environment, and they were all different. And I could feel the emotion. So anyone that's like thinks that they don't have emotions, I maybe it was my emotion, I don't know, but I'm just showing you that level of the way informational fields unpack now when you're open is not how we've been taught. We don't have schools and universities for this. We have to go inwards. We have to be present. We have to slow down, step back, be silent, be loving with ourselves. Because you can't be this open and busy. It's too much. It'll settle. It always settles. It always does. But it has been quite a big one this phase.
No, I agree. And we've gone through the age of information, and now we're in the age of disinformation, I think. And that's the difficulty is, how do you know what's true, if you like, from what's false? And I think that you can only allow both sides of the equation to sit in your heart. And this is what I say to my heart and soul. And I don't really know what I'm talking to, but I'm talking to a deeper and more intelligent aspect than my ego self. And so my ego self is surrendering and saying, I've got no ordinary idea what's going on here. So I'm going to put it in there. And if you could do us a favor is just send the answer up nice and slowly so I can get my head around this. Thanks very much. And Susanne, it works for me. It does okay. And you know, I know when I'm off balance because my body tells me so. It doesn't say, hello, Joe, we're off balance. It tells me through a tense feeling, because my body responds perfectly to the signals that it's receiving from my mind. However, it's not my conscious mind that's sending most of the signals, it's the unconscious, you know. And somebody asked on some forum before is, what are light codes and what are these sound codes? What are people going on about, right? And my understanding is you don't have to get your head around it. You just have to try and relax, soften into it, and allow it to permeate and diffuse in the unconscious part of your mind. And it will like rejiggle it about, and it will disconnect you from stuff that's no longer working for you. And then you can breathe it out in a cleansing breath as it's flushed away, you know. And that's the way I see it now. And that's the way I feel it in myself. So things like mindful breathing, and breathing a real quality of lovely feeling and allowing that to wash through you. You mentioned like the spirit and water and, you know, air and stuff. Using that feeling of loveliness, you can call it love, you can call it compassion, whatever works for you. use that nurturing feeling to collect all the shit that's inside. That's a technical word there for the toxic remnant. Collect all the shit and then just allow yourself to breathe it away, to be re-assimilated in the great ocean of loveliness. So it's all about, because Freud, innit, when Freud was trying to get into people's unconscious minds, he used to lay them down because that lessened their defenses. He used to make them feel comfortable. And then he'd start feeding in the questions, wouldn't he? And people would be less defensive then. And that's what I think is things like movement therapies in that lovely, graceful way, right, is a cleansing thing for the soul.
Yeah, I agree. All of it. Beautiful. I shared about, I don't know what, that, you know, I was live this morning. I did another one. You won't have seen it on
Yes,
Light.
I did see some of it.
And that I was starting to communicate a little bit of the experiences I've had around movement, and you know how it's not you know, when we think about light language, someone might say that word, we might think it's someone speaking gobbledygook, or we might have seen some light, you know, we might have seen some light codes or something on Facebook or something and not understand it. And to me, really, the harmonic, when we get out of this idea of physical reality and matter, we're just down to vibration, and that is the base, isn't it? It's that there's something that's vibrating and it's communicating. The field, that everything is communicating in some way. And we're streaming this data through our geometries of our light body, like streaming it all the time. It moves. It doesn't hit a wall and rebound. It don't work like that, does it?
No.
So we have the instrumentation in our heart and in our light body, our life body, to feel and communicate this effectively in a way that's right for us. And however is right for us is variable massively. But that feeling, what you're describing to me is universal, is the feeling that there's something moving. We're not sure what it is. We might not be able to see it. And it's a sense that that thing that we're doing, that maybe how we're moving or breathing or being, is doing something positive. It's shifting. It might feel like shit because you might be moving shit. It might feel difficult. It might feel painful because it can be very painful when you move stuff. But ultimately, it's like being sick, isn't it? If you're drunk, you need to be sick. Right? We are like overloaded kids that have eaten too much sugar at a party. We need to be sick. So we feel better. We feel better afterwards. And to me, that is throughout, however we describe the different languages or what we put around it or create, that's at the base.
I couldn't agree more. And what I've learned about me is that when I've taken an action that doesn't resonate with the correct action according to my higher self, deeper self, I get a rebound effect, right? And I feel bad about it. Okay. But when I'm releasing stuff from the past, right, it's a different feeling. It still feels crap, but it feels like I'm behind it and it's leaving me. So it's not a reflection, you know. And so this is what I've learned now. As I go more and more and become more and more sensitive, I can sort of discern, right, the nuance of, is it because I've just taken an action or judged something and it's coming back to show me, or is it stuff that's actually clearing, you know? And the big thing I've realized as well is a lot of the stuff that that's leaving me now is personally had nothing to do with me. This is ancestral gubbins of my bleeding ancestors who didn't get it right either, you know, victims of victims of victims. And what I really feel is the more I understand this, right, because in my drinking, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I did in my drinking that was horrendous. And I was more shocked and surprised by anybody else when I came round. Because first of all, I couldn't remember doing any of this stuff. And it was completely and utterly out of character for me. And I've realized now, and you've touched on this in that thing that you just did, repression, suppression of all sorts of things from the past and from familial links and cultural links and nation links and global links, all that stuff. We're having to experience the feeling, first of all, of not acting properly in it, and then realizing this is the way that it should have been, you know. And now I believe that we're all going through this just to get an idea of, you know what, we're pretty much connected to everybody and everything.
Absolutely. It's massive. I call it passing the baton, you know, that's it. I got about, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, I got a really strong feeling that I should hold some ancestral healing workshops, but I really resisted it because, you know, everyone does ancestral healing. And I was like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. You know, all of that respecting and, you know, everything that I've been taught, really, it's honouring, really honouring everything that you're receiving. But it just became so very strong. And we're in it, you know, we're still going, we're going through it as a group, this same process that you've described. And it's not, you know, it's no longer just the ancestors, like, you know, the grandfathers and the great grandfathers and the grandmothers and the great grandmothers. It's bloody everything. It's our galactic ancestors. It's so much there. It's future as well, future, present, past, present, land, elements, everything. That's what I'm trying to take the group through, is breaking down the traditional idea of passing the baton through the bloodline, because that is part of it, but it is only part of it. It's a small part of it, because there's so much more. And we are the energy of the earth, and the energy of the cosmos is basically bringing us to the plate in front of the source and saying, you know what, you've got all this baggage, love. You really have. You know, you've had a journey with alcohol, you know, I've had my journeys, and we do stuff and we say stuff, really bloody hurtful things, and we can't always remember what we've done. I had dissociative problems because I was traumatized as a child, so I had all these different kind of coping personalities that were heavily defensive. So I would go into dissociation, like PTSD, do all this stuff and behave in certain ways that I've no memory of it. No memory. So I've had to go back. I've had to relive so much in humbleness and sit with such an open heart. And it's like myself and my mum, we're going to do lives, like we have been through it so deeply, moving the ancestral baggage of our feminine shame and suppression. It was living through our family, and it caused so much havoc in the family lines, and it stops with us if we want it to. If we want it to, we've got a choice to take that baton and hold it up to God and watch it dissolve. If we want to, it's a choice.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
It isn't much of a choice, because keeping hold of it hurts like buggery, doesn't it?
But people are trying. They're really trying to hold on to it. You can see how hard people are trying to hold on. It's painful. It's painful to witness the suffering and the resistance, knowing that I've had that same journey. And you can't tell somebody. You can't. It sounds like pious or unfeeling. You can't tell someone that. You can only feel it. And that's like what Jesus was doing, wasn't it? When he was like holding people, and you will go with him, because that's the only thing I've really got to measure it in, because the journeys I've done, is in that presence of holiness, of that open source. Everything drops. It drops consistently. Like literally, I've had Mother Mary like holding me, and I've been still resisting. I've been trying to I can't. My heart just is like so afraid of love. It's so afraid that I'm going to dissolve, and it just strips me again and again, and you get taken before it's not your sins, it's things that you've done, it's things that you've said, and you just have to acknowledge it. It's just an acknowledgement. And all the people that hurt you, I see the gift they brought to me, the gift that they brought to me, not the harm.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. You know, I went through a lot of stuff. I was beaten to a pulp many times in my drinking by gangs of youths and all this sort of stuff. And I look back at that now with an open heart, compassionate feeling for them, because they were just following the instructions of their peers as well and all that. And I see that, because to me, love, it's not an oochie coochie gooey type thing, love. It just means understanding. To me, it means understanding, but not a head knowledge. It means that you feel an openness when you look back at the past now. You know, and I had a lot of things. I mean, I've had my cheek broken, I've had my ribs broken, you know, I've had black eyes and blood pouring from my head and been beaten up with iron bars and all this sort of stuff, you know. And, you know, sleeping rough, I was homeless for ages, all these sorts of things. And I look back at Joseph then, right, and he makes me feel sad when I look at him, you know, but I know that when I tried to do myself in, and it should have succeeded, but I got to the doors of heaven, and this is no shit, this, right? This is what it feels like. I knocked on the door, it opened up, and this head popped round and says, "You're not finished yet," right? Turn round, we'll show you how it's done. And I really feel that, and I got this feeling of peace that passeth all understanding. Right, I really can't explain it other than if you've had it before, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know, I went through that great big spiral whirly thing and came out in this new land, which was blue sky and everything else. I've done all that sort of stuff. But then they said, right, you've had a bit of a rest. Piss off now, right? Go back and go and do what you signed the contract for in the beginning and stop messing about, will you? And it changed my life, because that's when I realized that I'm a spirit on a human journey, not a human trying to get spiritual. And that's what changed in me. Some feeling came up inside me, and that's the feeling that guides me now. You know what I mean? And I know I don't rely on anything else. I mean, I look out at all that bollocks that's going on in the world, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of horrible stuff going on there, you know. And my view is, I mean, because what we see out there is a projection from the past. So that's basically the past out there. This is the present in here. Yet we've still got to, in our ego, because our ego, in my view, lives in the past. That's still got to put stuff right out there while we're creating new good stuff in here, right? You know, cleaning the lens as well with a bit more tissue as another bit of crap comes off and we let go of another perceptual filter, you know. I mean, at one level, I know all this, but at another level, I just need to be shown what's the best way and the correct way to go forward here. Yeah. Over to you, Elfrud.
It's beautiful. I just love it when you talk. I feel like, you know, when you're talking and you're streaming, I could sit and listen to it for hours, Joe. I do. I could, and it's beautiful because it's so honest and heartfelt. I just want to thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
So don't be giving me, and it's me dad say, don't be giving me any of that owl guff.
Right. No, it's beautiful. I really appreciate it. That feeling that we've got of what's going on, it feels like, you know, I get dragged in sometimes. I see something and it really gets me, and I love it. Really, I love it, because then I'll go into what the trigger is and I find out what part of me is having a little dicky fit about something. More and more frequently, I guess because I'm aware and I'm in a collective and I'm aware of that collective for whatever reason, I get to have a little bit of ego for a while and play it out. And I was a bit of a teenager this week because I was clearing some teenage energy, and you know, I get to do it for a bit, but not for long. And then I literally sit in council. It's like a wise council. It's like wise, what is wise? But you know, you get to see what's playing out. So it was just, for example, you know, in the UK, we've got some very strange things going on. very, very, very. We could do a whole live on the strangeness of the things going on, but essentially, it's like a bad parent trying to chase its child, and the children are either they're scared or they're kicking back and they're having a tantrum. So we got to see where the wounds are, see where the big wounds are, because these are cyclical wounds. This whole thing is a cycle that's been playing out over like millennia and different planets and stuff. So we get to see how aware can we be of it and what are the stories, but ultimately it does always come back inside. It does come back inside to something that we're carrying, some story that we're playing out in some structure. We don't have to be full flow in it if we don't want to. You know, I think we might feel like we need to be. Like I felt guilty at first. You know, I had some pressure from friends who were having some kind of different experience to me, and you know, wanted me to go and do what they were doing, and I just didn't feel like that was what I was supposed to be doing in my heart. And then I went and there was something else that came up that is a very strong structure in the field that will become something that needs to heal. It's within our distorted sexuality. So I was focusing on that, and again I got pulled away. I got, you know, my heart was like, this isn't what you like you said, it's not what you signed up for, Susanne. And I'm just sitting there going, well, what the fuck did I sign up for then? Because I feel so guilty because the human race is having this big thing going on, and they were like, no, you're just here to anchor light. And I'm like, oh, right. So your mind, your brain, your emotion, your heritage, your ancestral, all wants to go and do the action. And the heart is saying, be still, be present, be grounded, be truthful, be authentic, be fully authentic, and go out there and you shine your light. And that was, it only happened a few weeks ago where that really dropped in. It was painful. I was really resisting it. I was having a wrestling match with my ego and my heart. And in the end, the heart won. I just broke open, and my friend Damien really helped me. And that's just how it is. It's not right and wrong. It's just how it is.
And I agree. And I think as we started this, you know, I believe that the soul is unique in its own vibration and frequency. And I think with frequency comes function. I think the soul has a purpose. I don't think the soul has a key. I think that the soul is a key. You know, it's a player in the orchestra, and it's retuning itself. This is the way I see things, you know, it's retuning itself. But I think sometimes, and it's a favorite phrase that I like to use, is sometimes I think that we have to punch with love. You know, sometimes, you know, if somebody's drowning, sometimes you got to knock them out to drag them back to the shore. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I can't say that I'll never take an action that seemingly might hurt somebody else, because behind it, there might be a massive other purpose that spirit or whatever, you know, the higher power can see much more clearly, you know. And I think, you know, sometimes if I'm open and flowing and words come out that seem offensive, right, I just, you know, and that happens a lot. But, you know, sometimes they seem offensive. They can have sort of repercussions that are actually positive in the future, you see. Who am I to know the big picture? And if I do that, and how can I explain it? When they're out, it's too bleeding late when they're out. But if I use my head to come in a political correct sense, that's my editor. That's an obstruction there, you know. And so I have to sort of, as it's coming out, almost like channeled, I'm sort of feeling it. If I say the words and I don't feel bad about it, to me, it's correct. It's correct. Now, I haven't got all the answers here, and I could be totally barking up the wrong tree. And I don't mind people coming in to say, well, can I make a suggestion? It's when they make a suggestion before they've asked me. That's what pisses me off, you know. I mean, most people who know me know that I've got a dreadful sense of humor, right? And I throw little bombs in for fun because it makes me laugh and howl. And I put a thing up the other day, you know.
Sense of humor. Sorry, I don't think anyone there like truly agrees with that one. I'll put my stick in the mud here and say like you've got an amazing sense of humour because it's like an ironic sense of humour, and we need that. We need that. It's the honesty. It's the honesty. It's like JP Sears, you know. JP Sears, like this comedian. He's totally like bringing it onto the planet. He's calling it out, but he's calling it out like in a kind of satirical way. And we've got to be able to play in this field and play this game. And you've got to be able to have healthy yes and healthy no and healthy fuck off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please get out of my field. It's like you've had your say. You've overstepped the boundaries. You know, I've been tolerant, and now can you just fuck off out of my field, please?
Yeah, I give you one chance. I give you the second one, third one. Go and work yourself out. But I did that thing, put a little clip up and a coded message from the universe, right? You're not special. Get over yourself. Get a life, And I was howling, and it just came to me. I'm sitting there doing some admin work for my job, right? And it just got put this up. And I go, oh, you joke, put that up. Right. Now, the people who know me, they all put like a smiley face on and where, he's off again and all that. However, some people really told me to F off, told me who do they think I am? Well, they may be friends, but they're not friends who are acquainted with the way that I work and operate, And there's a complete difference between irony and sarcasm. Everything I do there is hopefully will make people chuckle a bit, you know what I mean? And so, sad to me, it means all sorts of things. It means stress, anxiety, and depression, right? It means seasonal affective disorder, but it doesn't mean special and different, right? Because I think special and different is killing people. And I think that's what people do when they're trying to condition you, aren't they? Right? Yeah. Do you want to see some puppies? Right? One little sweetie, come with me, and I'll lead you by the nose, right, into this imprisonment camp, And I think we've got to get over that. It's called discernment,
It's massive, isn't it? It's massive. But then you know what? It's for humans to work it out as well. That's why, sometimes I've been on. I don't do rants quite like you. I try and be more diplomatic sometimes, but I do observation. I wanted to kind of start doing comedy because I have observations about life and they're quite full on in a multidimensional sense, I guess. I observe human nature, and so the spiritual world is almost like the extreme of egoic construction, and it's grown into something that's quite interesting. And I've been kind of writing a bit behind the scenes. I'm sort of not a book, but I'm writing some stuff, and I see things, and obviously people come across my gaze that have been told things, and then they believe things, and then because you believe it, you have it, and it's just a cycle. It's a cycle. It's all a cycle. We if you believe something and you truly believe it, you're gonna create a reality around it. So the point really, I think, of when we meet God, or whatever the word is, spirit, source, doesn't matter, that unwinds everything. And the worst thing is like when you like believe in something, especially outside, like I am the reincarnation of something, or I'm in this special club, I'm in the 100, special 144. Let's just take that one because it's got a big one. I'm in the 144 club, and I'm very special, and I'm a star seed, and I've remembered all this wonderful stuff, and it makes me very special and advanced human being on the planet. That has to crash. It must, because I cannot be in resonance and harmonic resonance and be superior. It's not possible.
I agree entirely, But I've gone through this process. I was one of the greatest pretenders of all because I didn't know what to do. So I was good at picking up cues, changing myself, right, and spilling out what I thought other people wanted to hear. And what I've learned is they could see clearly that I was talking through my arse and being pretentious, right? And I was the last person to know. I was like a bleeding knowledgeable idiot, know all, knows fuck all. Well, that was me, right? That was me, and still to a large degree it's still the same. But what I'm saying is I was a knowledgeable idiot. I had plenty of knowledge about all sorts of subjects, but about myself I did not have a clue because my gaze was external, right? That's what I learned from. It was ex-tuition, right? That's where I got all my information from. And I know that I have to turn my head around like the exorcist, look inside and start allowing my intuition to guide me, and it's like, it even talks like that sometimes, when it's coming through. And like, light language. I know I've been talking in light language all of my life, right? And it used to come out when I was pissed, right, and absolutely virtually unconscious. I used to be drooling in the corner and all these languages would be coming out of me, And in the old days, that would have been seen as like a possession of sorts, And that's what used to happen. They used to throw me in the corner of the pub and just let me come out with all this sort of stuff, Most of it ancient Confucian Chinese and things like this, But now it comes through. It comes through. But as you know, you can feel it coming. They think, oh, here we go. Here we go. What's going to happen now, But I've been shown that my next job is to develop this or allow it to be developed in me in the 12 spheres of consciousness. And that's what's happening now. I'm getting vibrations at different levels that resonate with different parts. It's like my throat is like a flute, with 12 keyholes on it, and it's almost like sometimes I can feel it and it's playing at different parts of my throat now. And when I get up to the high stuff, it gives me a headache afterwards. But then the low stuff, Yeah, and the heart thing though, I can feel my heart one. When that Christ center opens and the Jesus voice comes through, I can feel that energy because sometimes when I'm saying it, it just makes me want to cry my eyes out, And you said something before. It's almost as if there's got to be a balance between a laugh on the one side and a cry on the other. And that's where I feel most of the time, And I can look at animals, Susanne, I can look at them, even plants and all that. I get a sense of how they see and how they sense the world, And whether that's true or not, it's true in the way that I feel. But my head will always try and talk me out of that.
Yeah, we always lock it down, don't we? It's like soon as it's like it comes in and you want to hold on to it with your mind will try and hold on to water. It's like, I always say, it's like trying to hold on to water, so stop trying to hold on to it, let it flow. It's where we're moving to, what we're unlocking here. We ain't got, yes, of course, we've had lots of learned civilizations. We're contacting them, they can be a baseline. We can shift the awareness through and remember these things, but we don't know where we're going. We can't know that. I've got this picture that came up on my feed, on my Facebook feed, and I didn't put it out, but a year ago I did it, and it says like you're 5% of like sort of like what you know, but 95% is you don't know, and to me that's the Boydell plane. That's the plane of the moment. Being in the moment means you don't know what's coming next. You're not trying to predict it. You're not worried about it. You're not trying to control. The worst thing is that we just try and control it all the time. Like I'm trying to control everything in one. Even if I say I'm not controlling it, I'm doing it subconsciously. And when the mastership, I guess it's not a very good word for it, but the present thing is to sit in that nothingness and continue to sit in the nothingness before your mind wants to pull something out and make the past the present or the future the present. It's what it does all the time, and we're just becoming more observational of because we sit in that space, the unknown is then coming in, isn't it? Source is informing us more. So like you say, you're feeling, as this energy is moving more, it's opening you. You know, you're feeling, you can feel the layers, you feel that there's something there, something that, you know, you may be more purposeful, more purpose to do. Like, my body's opening too. I didn't even understand what my body could do. Like, I'm the same. When I opened in 2012, it was massively galactic. It was crazy, like Jesus. It was mad as a box of frogs, like a multiple going through dimensions on light ships and extraterrestrials and all this stuff. And I'm out round the universe. And my mentor said, you're like a freaking child that's got the keys of a Ferrari and you haven't got a clue what you're doing. I got really cross with them and angry with them for speaking the truth, but it was so true because I had no clue. And you know what? I hadn't even learned to look within. It was totally like like going out. It's not a distraction. It's extremely important. But if that's all you do and you don't land it and you don't turn, like you said it, I loved it. Like The Exorcist, you turn it in. You have to turn that juice in and get the light going in there, because we are so stitched up and locked down and repressed that stuff is brilliant if you turn it in. But we have to do the work. We do have to commit and have good practice, like you say, breath work, meditation, stillness, mindfulness, you know, nature, to take pause, to let that juice flow. And we can have both. I cry when I'm in the presence of the divine. I have tears. I've had it from an early time. You know you'll laugh. You know the first time that happened? When I sat on Janine Mooland.
Oh, right, yeah. Sean,
the very first time I saw her speak, she was in a live with Martin McNichol. My friend had told me about the pair of them, and they were doing something, and I saw her and she spoke, and my eyes started to water, and I didn't know why.
I always feel like crying when I see her. No, she has it because it's heart, is it? It's the vibration, the natural vibration of an open heart, you know. And we can feel that, can't we? I've just got two things here because my memory's going, you know, and I thought I had senile dementia, and I got told you haven't got senile dementia. You've got multiple dimension here. You know, and I thought, oh, fair enough. I can handle that, you know. But the other thing you say, I used to get, and I've got the push to say this, I used to get a lot of panic and anxiety attacks, and it used to immobilize me. And I'd be basically paralyzed with fear and couldn't walk, you know. And there was one occasion in on the summer, right, when I was trying to cross a road and I couldn't put my foot down onto the road because I was afraid that I'd be run over. You know what I mean? And complete and utterly illogical thing, because I could see for miles and there was nothing around at all. But what I got told was, right, watch your throat, because the throat closes. That's why in anxiety, the throat closes down and it tightens, and that's why people's voices go up, right? And it's because, right, the physiology behind it is the throat tightens to constrain the oxygen in the lungs under pressure in case you need to run quickly, so there's a supply of oxygen there. So I know this, but if you're in that state chronically, you develop tension around your throat muscles, your pharyngeal and your laryngeal, and you get this temporomandibular joint dysfunction, because that's like a biting response. So all those tension headaches, eye pain, you know, all that stuff, it's all to do with being chronically under pressure all the time and living life on the defensive. What I've been shown is to growl it out, you know, to do light language and let it express through an open heart. But also you can do it subtly as well, or I do, is to imagine a little windmill going round, and as you breathe out, the windmill goes faster, right? And then as you breathe in, it sucks in, and breathe it out, it goes faster, you see. And what's happened over time is that's relaxed. I found my own voice, because believe it or not, right, I was afraid to say boo to a goose except when I was pissed, right? I wouldn't speak to anybody because I was afraid either I'll say something stupid and I'll be embarrassed, you know, and that was still all about me. But what I'm saying now is I've definitely, as you can tell, found me bleeding voice, you know what I mean? And it's sometimes like my heart opens and there's a fire that's trying to come out to express itself, you know. But now, what's happening now is I'm learning some new techniques or spirits showing me about how you position certain parts of you to allow the energy to flow to different bits to de-obstruct any channels that are being blocked over time, you know. So that's basically where I'm up to, you know, and I don't know why I said all that, but there may be some people who, anxiety, the root word is angustia, which means a tightening or a narrowing of the throat, right? So if you've got something, another phrase of mine, if there's something playing on your mind, best get it off your chest, right? You know, and it's not to fire it at anybody, unless you're trying to tell a joke and it backfires. Well, it's not to fire at anybody, because I don't believe that just because you found your voice, you can go along and start telling people to piss off and all that. But I think if you have to say what you have to say, my view is that if you say to somebody, look, there's something playing on my mind, do you mind if I get it off my chest? Most people say yes to that, and then you can give it to them because they've given you permission, you know. So that there were some things that just came to me that might be helpful to people.
Yeah. It's massive. It's so relevant, Joe. So relevant. And it's almost like, it's just stuff that I've said this week. It's like you've just sort of like gone in the field and pulled out my lives and said, you know, like I was sharing. I think it was the one this morning, and certainly the one earlier this week about the teenage years. I mean, I had chronic anxiety, and it came up. So I thought I got past it, actually, in truth. And I kind of did a lot of work when I was going through the sort of galactic phases, and then it came back. It crippled me last year. I was crippled with anxiety again, and something happened, and I ended up in like a PTSD recall of being attacked back by my father. Towards the tail end of last year, there was a massive, very, just a masculine that behaved in a certain way, and it sent me back there for another visit, and I developed chronic anxiety again, and it was quite intensive to step back after working through this, you know, and thinking. So that the techniques that we have for coming up, you know, when we come to those things, it's a whole body. It's a whole body response. You know, my whole body was responding to this type of energy, and it was literally like, even when I was training, I went to Thailand and I was training to do breath work. Even in the breathwork training, I was lying on the floor, and somebody just stepped on the floor and made a creak, and I completely went into PTSD. I was freaking out, like in total, like I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe. I totally locked down. So this is very real. It's not something, you know, that even we can joke about it, but a lot of people are experiencing this now, because the stuff outside is so strong that it's touching all of our common little wounds in there, all of the tender places that are like really tender. And so when that thing happens outside and it touches there, we get this is something that is popping up, especially in isolation, you know, social isolation, and in terms of us having to separate and be separate, or follow some of the restrictions maybe that have been put into our lives and those structures. So I think it's very relevant.
I think, and that's what I feel is these are helpful tips, because the situation's not the same, but it's similar, and it's similar enough feel like the same, but it isn't the same. It's a pattern matching scenario, and it's almost designed, everything that's going on, I see, in a bigger way, it's designed to extract all those memories so that we feel the feeling but let it go. Because what tends to happen, and I've been through this myself, is it comes up, you get a sense of, oh, here we go again, and then we close our throat and push it down again, you know. And there's a phrase that some people don't like, but we're only as sick as our secrets, okay? And the secrets are those suppressed and repressed episodes, whether personal or cultural, that we've pushed down into our personal and collective psyche, that's trying to come up like bubbles, but it's got to be experienced through us in order that we can embody the light that's behind it. So again, in another way, this is about embodiment of the soul and the light body. You know, there's so many different things. And as we let this stuff go in a witnessing sort of sense, and it's also important in my view, and I could be wrong, but it's important to have a friend that you can share with who's not going to come in with sort of, oh, this is what you want to do and you want to do this. Just to be sitting there, to let you express it and to allow all this stuff to sort of dissolve and dissipate, you know. And crying's good, you know, they are the tears of catharsis. Catharsis literally means a cleansing of the soul, doesn't it? And there's that cathar link as well. And I get that a lot recently.
Friends as well, you know, those ones are your best friends.
Oh,
you know,
they are.
Just come and hold your space.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to change you, heal you, or do anything. They're just going to hold your space and be present. That's it. My best friends in the whole world are just ones that can be present with me, because that's it. That's all you're asking for, isn't it, really?
I think that we've done a jolly good job tonight. I feel that we've talked about a lot. We've had a bit of a laugh. We've been serious. We've been all over the place, you know. My expectation was there was some light language going to come through, but that hasn't happened for me, you know, because I was thinking, you know, is this the bit now where it all comes out? And, you know, I do have a thing about the light language thing, though, because I've got this academic career that I have, which is very sort of politically correct and academic and very straight and proper. And I think, what if any of my colleagues from academia see me doing that? You know, and where I'm up to with that is bollocks. If they do, there must be a reason for it, you know. So I'm not trying to suppress it, but it just hasn't arrived, you know, because my human, you know, the expectation was, oh, tonight's the night, you know. But there you go. There you go. Tonight the night isn't the night. So before we go,
all the time, you know, like I was like that when I was on with Todd. I'd go on and be like, we're going to talk about the codes. We're going to do light language. And it's every time we go on, we just end up having a chat. And it's like, at the end, it's like, oh, are we going to do some light language? And I'm like, yeah, maybe I should do some light language. But
same, and I have no sense of, there's nothing coming, so nothing's happening. So before we go, do you want to do any light language? And if you don't want to, or don't feel it, it doesn't matter.
I feel like there is light language for sure around what we've spoken about. It's much more about embodiment. It's about coming in to the body. So it was like an anchoring rather than an activation type of thing. So is it okay to share?
Of course it is. Go for it, old chap.
Mahara o shekin ahatush ktin mahara o lakora am sukyata marutea manit bra la karu shin mahot nahare wek I shekian toltona mun o shara holakratara dari ektin ukt shukun uruuna mara anasayana. So this is the throat you were talking about. Harea tartukor in the yeshit brat alotorton hoya mort shikt ahet mort shikt ala brat arund ort kushtin mort ala urt oyen ish pral kashiata mort kail pral prano shara hoya na mahari masa Deshi aram haro oilata tokai mia haria mori ari mohari aria shanhia de mun ara anosaria shaya. It's like a balm, you know, like a Sharan Narayana, like a medicine, a balm, just for the love for that. When you were sharing about the tension, Oriada, Dariasa, Shohena, so it come Nahiata, Latiana. Yeah, I just see flowers when I was doing that. It was just, I just saw flowers.
It's beautiful that, because
Mm-hmm.
I can feel my heart, right, really expanding and my throat expanding. And inside my head, it just went all light and
Yeah,
white.
got tears. I just like,
Yeah,
I
and
ended up
I can sort of feel a sense of, again, cleansing and stuff. So
yeah,
that was beautiful.
it's
Thank
just
you,
love.
Boss. It's lovely, always lovely to talk to you. We'll have one of these when they knock on the door next time, and see what comes up next. But my feeling is we're all moving along pretty quickly now, so just try and keep your feet on the ground and let your shoulders go, and just like be yourself. To thine own self be true.
Thank you. Thank
Right,
you.
right,
Yes.
darling. Thank you
Yes.
very much indeed, and thank you everybody for tuning in. And if you've got any questions or anything like that, please feel free not to get in contact with me because I'm too busy. Thanks very much. See you next time.
Take care.
Bye bye.